there, but really my questions come out to, it looks like this year it doesn't cost more money for the city to have these job changes, but next year, if the same kind of positions were adopted, there would be increased cost, unless there was some cost savings someplace, which is what I want to ask about. Will there be, do you see some way that having this new configuration is going to create costs reductions?
No, I don't see any exact cost reductions. However, this structure could lead to moving other folks around, and possibly that could be a cost reduction. But I don't want you to think that this is leading to a cost reduction.
None of the new jobs that are being done relative to the work on the sewer is going to increase our capacity to be functioning for less money in those realms, or it's all, the costs are just going to keep increasing.
Well, the costs are going to increase. Now, I would also say that one of the biggest benefit is that we're going to be managing this better. And so is there I didn't calculate out what the cost efficiency is there, but this will put two individuals at a sub-director level, and it's the only place where we have deputy directors is in the Public Works Department. And it gives a ability for the city manager to have two people accountable for those departments, and yet has me as the point to the whole thing. And so that's something that she's looking forward to. That's something that way I can spend equal amounts of time on both of them, as opposed to sunk in one side or the other. And that tends to happen where I spend 2 weeks kind of in some engineering issue, and then I'm with the sand district for 2 weeks. And so as opposed to being able to have those people sunk in those areas full time, with me kind of seeing what's going on and making decisions more on a higher level. So that's really what we're looking for with the deputy director positions.
And as another historical review briefly, this goes back to a decision by the council to reorganize and move from a public utilities department, which used to include electricity, water, and sewer. It was a decision made that it was simply more logical to have Public Works take a water and the sewer issue. And now I'm Councilmember Roden.
Well, in addition to that, we were unable to hire, for over a year, somebody to replace Bernie Zemanek, and we were looking at having to, pay somebody $200,000 and maybe still not even be able to find somebody who could be an expert in electric and water. So when you say cost savings, it depends. You have to say, well, compared to what? We don't know even how high we would have had to go to find a director who could serve both those departments. So now we're looking at this this reorganization and seeing what's needed to staff and manage this new organization.
Further questions or comments from the council at this time? Public comment is in order.
No, I'm fine.
And we're going to ask that you stick to the 3 minutes, and if you need to go over, maybe it's conceivable that a member of the council would be willing to ask questions beyond the 3 minutes.
Jim Ronco, Chair, Ukiah Valley Sanitation District. I was authorized by my board of directors to write an introduction letter to the City Council, which was hand-delivered to the city on December 30th. And by the looks on everybody's faces, I'm assuming that you did get it. I didn't see any reference to it in the staff report, but one of the items that the sanitation district wanted to do was, first of all, give you an introduction. Hi, we're here. And request that we discuss several issues in joint session between the district and the city council. One of those items is before us at this point. We also requested that we also put together a joint meeting that would discuss the 3 items left over from the last joint meeting. The board of directors of the sanitation district asked me to tell you that we're looking forward to working with the City Council on issues that affect the ratepayers, as well and the citizens of both the district and the city, and that we would like to find solutions to the issues that confront us. And one of the things that is confronting us is our concern that the increases in salaries and the reclassifications of jobs may increase the cost to the sewer ratepayers. And that's why we sent this letter and requested that maybe we could have a joint meeting to discuss this. We know that at this point, based on what Director Erickson has presented, that there's no cost this year, but in the 2009-2010 budget, there could be an increase in cost. I believe that the Board of Directors was concerned that at this time, with the uncertainty about the availability of funding for the plant project, as well as the uncertainty about whether we're going to have increased costs, that this additional cost would be something that we should discuss in a joint session. And so I'm here to just reiterate what our letter said and hope that we can attempt to get together and see if we can't work through issues such as this amicably. Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas?
Mr. Ronco, your concern then is more with the dollar impact rather than the reorganization per se.
I think that personally I have two issues. One, the dollar impact, I didn't recognize that we had done any salary survey that would substantiate the salaries that are going on now. And Mr. Erickson has talked about reorganization and continuing moving of people. I'm afraid that every time we talk about continuing to move people, we run into the potential of salary increases to come again. And so I think we have a two-headed dragon here. We have the potential of reorganization and increased costs as well.
Thank you.
Do you have a question for the speaker?
Actually, related to what the speaker said, but for the attorney.
Why don't we
So,
hold
okay.
that until after all the public comment is over? Do you have a question for the speaker? Further public comment?
John Graff speaking as a citizen. I have a real concern with anything that's going to be increased right now. Most of the other governments around you are cutting, are laying off people, having mandatory days off, and looking for ways to trim their budget. I believe that the city manager is probably looking heavily at that, but I haven't seen any evidence yet that that's the mode that this city is in, and I think you need to be in that mode. I believe that one of the problems that we're facing in our city, in our county, in our state, in our federal government is that the governments have grown to the point that the taxpayers and the ratepayers can't feed them anymore. And that's causing a shrinking in the tax base and the business base, which will continue for a while until we solve the problem. So your revenue sources, I think, will continue to decrease for the next 3 years or better. And I think that it's time that the city council really takes a hard look at this. And, you know, in the workplace right now, people are getting laid off. People are getting their 401ks that were funded, a percentage that were funded by their companies, taken away as a way to try to survive. And I don't think the city's far behind that, and I think that it's time to take that real serious.
Further public comment? On the issue of reorganizing the Public Works Department after water and sewer have been moved from the Public Utilities Department to that Public Works Department. Further, council? Oh, there were questions related to comments that came up. Councilmember Landis?
I was curious about what the contract between the sanitation district says